All right, so I just watched the first 3 episodes of the new Disney Plus MCU show Ironheart. Oh, and Mortimer, by the way, is on my lap. This is my cat, Mortimer. He's here because he loves the Black Panther movies because he has a cat, and because of that, he was excited to watch a couple more episodes about a character from one of those movies. Now, okay, 2 things up front. One, I know a lot of people that are like, I didn't even know this show existed, or I just saw an ad for this the other day, but it's the first time I saw one. I think that is not a condemnation of the show in any way. I think it is a part of Marvel's current strategy, which is make movies that make money. Now, the old strategy was make things for streaming because streaming is the future. But then after the shakeup at Disney, the Bobs switched places. Now, Iger is in charge again after Chapek. Iger decided, and I think smartly, that putting a lot of stuff out for streaming, while fun, is not a great business move compared to putting out a bunch of really good movies, because the movies make money. And you see this with like Moana 2 was going to be a Disney Plus show, then it went to theaters and it made like $1 billion or whatever. So this feels like one of the last Chapek era projects. And because of that, it feels like Marvel, smartly, decided to focus their advertising money on Fantastic Four First Steps, which comes out in like a month, because they know that's going to make them money, and that is their biggest movie of the year. I think Ironheart is a victim right now of just bad scheduling, and also the fact that things have to start moving. Specifically, we need to get characters where they need to be for Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars, and this Ironheart show has to come out eventually, so here it is. But like, we're only going to get maybe a couple more of these. I believe Wonder Man is coming out, and then Vision Quest. It seems like those are the 2 last Chapek era shows. There's other stuff that Marvel is doing, but like once those 2 are finished, I think Disney Plus is going to feel different. Like what that is for, it's gonna be for longer running series like Daredevil, and you know what, we'll see. Doesn't matter. Either way, that is one of the reasons this is a little weird. Reason number 2, Ironheart, more than maybe anybody else so far that has gotten a show, is a character who fans kind of like. You know, like there are fans of Riri Williams, the Ironheart comics, of the Champions comics that she was a part of the Iron Man comics that she's part of now, which actually I enjoy those comics. Like the current Iron Man run I think is good. But like compared to Hawkeye and just Kate Bishop or Moon Knight or Miss Marvel or even Agatha Harkness, like those are characters that people really like. Some people really like, not everybody, but like for me, like Kate Bishop is a character in comics that I think is great. And I think she has a ton of really fun stories that I would immediately point someone to as like, this is something you read and you get Kate Bishop. Same is true, I think, of She-Hulk. But like Ironheart, while an important character, I don't think has fully had that moment. I don't know what the great Ironheart series is. The same way that Miss Marvel's debut series, while not like perfect, I think gives you a really good understanding of like what is interesting about this character. Why are you going to fall in love with them? And like, why are you going to watch them go from team to team to team? I've heard a lot of people say, and I kind of agree with them, Ironheart is not their favorite character. Now, I think they're doing something a little different with the character here, and I like that. But I guess this is the Disney Plus show that, beyond the fact that like it's barely connected to one movie that a lot of people honestly don't think about as much, even though I think, you know, it's pretty good. It's the character that the fans of the comics, I would say, for the most part, and this is, you know, generalization, but are the least connected to. That being said, I think this show is pretty good. I like it. I think it's an entertaining show. We're in this weird space where like the Disney Plus shows reach 6 episodes long now. Not all of them, I guess, because Agatha was longer than that. But like, this is a 6-episode show. It really feels like you could cut a bunch out of it and turn it into a 2-hour movie. I don't think that would be better necessarily. It feels like, having watched 3 episodes and watched half of it by now, it doesn't feel like it has the pacing of a series, especially a series like this that is so specifically laid out and, you know, revolves around things like heists, which make the arcs very easy to see. Like, this show goes from 0 to 100 really quickly, which on one hand I like, because it's like we're not wasting time, you know, seeing her decide to be Ironheart again or whatever. I don't remember if she calls herself Ironheart in Wakanda Forever, but we're not seeing Riri like earn the suit again or whatever. Like, she gets in the Ironheart suit in episode 1 and is doing all kinds of cool stuff immediately. But because of that, it doesn't feel like a series because it's moving so fast. The pace of it feels closer to something like a movie. And maybe that's because I watched the first 3 episodes at once, but like if you're going to drop 3 episodes at once, that is, I would assume, one way they're meant to be consumed. So I would say, like, as a TV show that we're halfway through, I think it's pretty fun. I think it's entertaining, but I do think its biggest problem for me right now is the fact that, like, it's not a show, but it's also not a movie. And I'm not saying that makes it bad, but it makes it hard to feel like I'm getting enough or not too, like, it's just, we're right in the middle in this weird space, and I don't like it. And people will say, yeah, that's what a mini series is. I think that's kind of true. Yeah, like Moon Knight was like 6 episodes long, and I feel like that in the same vein, I think it was way too short. I like a series that takes its time, and there's certain plot points that I think we're moving maybe too fast on, and I can already feel that, even if we're not done with that. But all right, let's take a step back. This series is about Riri Williams, played by Dominique Thorne. I kind of like her. I like that they're characterizing her here as, like, someone who is cool with doing crimes if they are kind of, against the right people, and if she's kind of not really hurting anybody. We'll get to some of the crimes, but, like, I'd like that she is more desperate, that she wants to make her Iron Man suit, and she has a good reason for doing that. I like the way they developed that part of her character. And she doesn't have a whole lot of options, so this is what she's doing. Like, I think the way they establish her character in the show is good. I like Dominique Thorne's acting. I think she's pretty funny when she gets, like, good jokes. I think there's some jokes in this show that just don't fully work for me. But I don't know, there were good reactions here. I think she had good chemistry with pretty much everybody she was on screen with. And I think, like, there were some big emotional moments that I also think were good. But, like, overall, I think this Riri Williams is about as fun as the one from Wakanda Forever. She's rebellious, she gets in trouble, and I do think, like, by the end of episode 3, I'm like, oh man, she is in some trouble. Like, episode 1, 2, and 3, this first arc is, like, set up, and then episodes 4, 5, and 6 seem like they're going to be, like, consequences. And I do kind of appreciate how much this show has just dug her into this hole. Because a lot of the time, I think the criticism people levy against the Marvel shows, which I understand, and Marvel movies too, is that the characters aren't allowed to be wrong because they just like don't do really bad things. They do things that are, like, kind of bad and then get justified along the way. And you're like, oh, they didn't want to make, Sam Wilson Captain America like a bad guy, so they didn't give him a real character flaw. They just had some things that people say about him, and you're like, oh, that's what the character flaw would have been for him. I think that is a fair criticism. With this, I'm like, no, she's got some character flaws. She has quite a few, and I like that about her. The other main character of the show, although I would say, like, you get about equal billing between the next 2 characters. So you got Parker Robbins, who's the antagonist, not yet, but, like, that's where he's going, and he's played by Anthony Ramos. This is the character in the comics known as the Hood. We haven't seen him in the MCU, although we did see the Hood in an episode of What If. So that was cool. I imagine this is supposed to come out first. And I kind of know what the deal is with the Hood. The Hood, for people that don't know, the idea is, what if a regular guy found magic stuff and used it to do crimes? But, like, he's not a sorcerer, he's not a magician, he's not Doctor Strange or Wanda or anything like that. He's just a guy who, like, found these things. He's like, I could probably use these to take over some of the crime, and becomes a crime lord. I think he's a cool character. He was created during, like, the Max line, and he's really edgy in his original comics, but I like the space that he exists in, where he's kind of like a jobber level boss. So he can be in charge of big plans, and, like, he can be a problem for smaller characters, but bigger characters, like, oh, the Hood. I got this guy. I was critical, in talking about the trailer, I believe, of the look of the Hood. I did not like how flat it looked. I wanted to have more dimensions or be more kind of sinister. I think that's still true, but I don't think the show so far has, like, had too much Hood. Like, he wears it sometimes, but it's not as dopey as I kind of expected it to be, looking like a raincoat. It just, like, when he's wearing it, the show knows how to make it kind of seem spooky. I wish it felt more otherworldly, although I'm sure there will be a reveal of what the magic is. Like, we don't get too much time with it in the first 3 episodes. Besides that, I liked Anthony Ramos. I liked the way they characterized him. There were certain beats that I found kind of surprising, things that he did where I can see a worse version of this show doing the opposite and me going, man, I wish they did this instead. And they did those things, so I thought that was cool. I think this is a character who, and this is something I'm not going to spoil, but like you know, when you figure out what his deal is, I think the way he is acting makes a lot of sense, and it makes him a very fun character. And I don't think the show is subtle about that in the way that they have him, you know, kind of talking to himself, maybe, or maybe someone else, or the way that there's characters having conversations in front of posters that just are like, say Easter egg, and you're like, oh yeah, that, yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that too much, but I like the Hood. I like Anthony Ramos. I hope they don't kill him. I hope they keep him around. The other main character is Natalie, played by Lyric Ross. So we learned some stuff about her. She's a friend of Riri's. I kind of like their dynamic. I think she does a good job of grounding Riri. I think their chemistry is fun. I would say some of her dialogue feels a bit, I don't know, artificial. Like, doesn't feel real. And by that, I mean, like, some of it feels like, I don't know, sometimes it feels very natural, and it's like, that is how kids talk. And by kids, I don't know how old you're supposed to be, like, you know, early 20s. Sometimes it's like, it feels weird that this character is referencing stuff like Spy Kids. Were they even born when Spy Kids came out? Like, I don't know. Like, it feels like it's written by people that are slightly older than the characters. But I think the friend is fine, and the way that they're integrated into the story is interesting. A little weird, but interesting. The other player of note is a character named Joe McGillicuddy, played by Alden Ehrenreich, who I like a lot in other stuff. And that's not to say I don't like him in this. I actually think he's fine in this. They give him a really weird, goofy, I don't want to say eccentric the same way that, like, I don't know, you know, Mugatu is eccentric in Zoolander. Like, he's eccentric in that, like, his mind's really buzzing, and you can feel there's like a lot going on under the surface. I like that they don't waste too much time with this character. There's some like, oh, who is he? And then you figure out pretty quickly. And I like the way that he is characterized here without spoiling it. I think it feels a little weird. It's one of those characters where, like, this guy was Han Solo before. Like, I've seen you do Han Solo. You can try to be a nerd who's like a weird guy, but it's like, I can't not see cool action guy, you know? And it's not to say that, like, I don't think he's a good actor. I think he is, but, like, I don't know. They give him like messy hair and like a polo shirt, and it's like, it's Han Solo. I think we're going to get interesting stuff with him in the future, but I think the stuff that we get in like the third episode with him, I liked. There's a crew that does heists. I have no strong feelings about any of them. Well, that's not true, I guess. I like watching them. I don't care about them, but like, I think the pyrotechnic one is kind of fun. She's a little zany. One of them, I looked it up as a drag queen. They're fun, I guess. I'm not a big drag race guy. You know, I'm sure people are excited about that. Eric Andre's in the show for like, I don't know, a second. I hope he got a nice big check. So, you know, they're fine. I don't think it has, you know, an Ocean's 11. And this is the thing where, like, I think if this was a longer series, there would be time to flesh out each member of this team, and you would feel, at least with a couple of them, the same way that you feel about the Ocean's 11 crew, where you know how they act and like what's going to get them in trouble, and it's fun to just watch them pal around. I think there's some moments where you kind of do that here, but I don't think there's enough. Biggest thing I think that was surprising to me in a positive way is how much it feels like a show that exists in a place. It's very Chicago-y. It's hard to miss that immediately, but like, it feels like a show that they shot on streets. I don't know if they were all in Chicago. I'm sure many of them were Vancouver or whatever, but like, it doesn't feel like it's on sets. And I like that, especially for a character who's supposed to feel very down to earth, very grounded. The effects are mostly good. I think there's some that are, you know, not amazing, but like, I don't think that like all this stuff has to look perfect. I'd like it to look great, but like, for a Disney Plus show, I think some of this stuff looks perfect. Like, it looks like movie quality, and some of it looks like stuff you'd see on TV, and that's fine. You know, I think overall the effects in this are good, because it's really just mostly Iron Man stuff and some Hood stuff. And then a lot of like fake locations, because we get a lot of that in the first couple of episodes. I think there's going to be at least one or two more big effects, and I'm curious to see how those play out. But, you know, overall, I think it was pretty impressive, honestly. I like the design of the homemade version of this Ironheart suit. I think it looks cool. It's got a really dirty, you know, grimy vibe. And I like taking a character like this and like really starting from scratch, kind of taking them all the way down and really breaking them down. I like that. Music in the show, good. I like the music, fun. needle drops and stuff. And like the title cards, thought those were cute. Two big things though at the end. One, MCU connections. More than I expected. We talk about Tony Stark a lot and Tony Stark's legacy, but we also mention other people that exist in this universe. And like, there's a couple of like new things that have been added that I'm like, oh, is that something people do? There's a guy on a street corner in like one cutaway bit real quick that's doing something I think is kind of interesting. And then we get kind of another look, and this was something that I liked in Agatha as well. Like, they showed what people saw in the story of WandaVision from the perspective of like just a person trying to figure out what the heck is going on. We do that with some stuff in the MCU where characters are just talking about it and you're like, oh, that's interesting how it like fits into this, how it's looking back on other things and giving you, you know, just a little bit more context. I do think it is insane that one of the names in one of the lists of guys is Ryan Airy, YouTuber. You got a little cool shout out. Where's mine? I talk about this stuff too. Sure, you know, Ryan does, you know, his videos a little bigger, but like, I don't know. Put me in the Wonder Man computer. Put me in the Vision computer. That would be nice. That would be nice to see. I wonder if like Ryan, I wonder if he knew that or if that was a surprise. That'd be a big surprise. I feel like somebody should tell you beforehand. I don't know how that works. I should ask him. The other thing, the heists that they're doing, because we see a couple of heists make no sense to me, and I think that's fine, except the stakes of them are weird. Like, there's little things where a character will say, I gotta do this before this amount of time. You can feel the tension. You're like, okay, that kind of works. But just the overall, like, characters planning a heist and then a character going home and then she's like, where you been? And they're like, I don't know, I've just been around. It's like, I know that's what you're telling these people, but like, is there nobody checking to see if Iron Mans are flying around? And I guess we kind of get this from Captain America Brave New World. They don't even have anything to do if like a Hulk shows up. They don't have like a plan for that. So it feels like the security overall in America for sure is lacking. When I kind of heard about the show, I was like, oh, she's going to be building her Iron Man suit. They're going to use her for like technology stuff, like breaking into, you know, people's security systems. And there's a different person for that on the team. But instead, they just have Riri like fly around, and I know they're like, oh, you disabled the cameras, but like, there's still people that can see things with their eyes from far away, and it's not like the Ironheart suit is invisible or cloaked or anything like that. So there's a part of me that's just like, I don't think she can get away with this. Like, I know she will, but I mean, the bigger problem is just like what Parker Robbins is trying to get out of this. His plan feels insane. There's a little bit of like, oh, he's gonna be, you know, kind of manipulative. So he's not just going to rob these people. He's going to also kind of extort them, which I could see working. But I think if that's the case, you don't need to do the robbery. You can just extort them. And like, I'm sure there is technically an explanation in the show of what these guys are planning. But like, get into like a little bit of a spoiler for one of the episodes that's released, like episode 3, I think. A character in one of the heists calls him on and is like, what are you doing? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't make much sense, does it, Parker Robbins? What your plan is here and how you planning on not getting caught tomorrow by any number of people, any number of them, which part of them could be like other Avengers who you'd figure would just have a net out for stuff like this. And we'll get into it in the next video because maybe they will. Maybe an Avenger will show up and be like, I'm taking this. And you're like, oh, good. I guess they were keeping an eye on him. And they just didn't want to get involved too quickly. I also think part of the deal with, like, Ironheart is that she takes the Ironheart suit from MIT because she's like, this is mine, which is crazy. But also, like, you know, what are you going to do when she flies it out of there? She just has it now. But, like, in Wakanda Forever, Riri said,
there's an entire YouTube channel dedicated to sightings of me.
So, like, she is a somewhat public figure. People don't know it's Riri Williams, although they must now because she works at MIT and have built an Iron Man suit and flew away from MIT in front of a lot of people. So then if that's the case, do people just see Iron Man suits flying around and go, who's that? And then another person goes, I don't know. And then they just go about their day? And maybe they do, you know, maybe there's like one guy who looks this stuff up, like it's Clev from Shang-Chi, who's just going out here being like, I see some Iron Man person, it's probably the Ironheart one, if people know who that is. but nobody listens because nobody cares because there's all kinds of other shit going on. Maybe that's the story here. But I like the idea that Riri Williams is doing heists. I just do not buy that they were able to do secret heists, considering their identity should be public knowledge, and their suit is not special enough to not be seen from the ground. But like overall, I think this show is enjoyable. I think if you're like looking for something to watch, it's entertaining enough. I think there's some people that will really like it. And that's great. If you're not a huge MCU fan and you're not really interested in like any of the cast, I don't know, it probably isn't going to be for you. But if you're someone who's just like, I like Marvel stuff, this is Marvel stuff, and it's fun and it's not bad. But yeah, and there's some stuff in episodes 4, 5, and 6 that I am looking forward to because it is going to be cool. I've seen in most of the reviews for people that have seen all 6 episodes that there's big implications for Marvel stuff, and I believe that. I can see the shape of a couple of those things developing now, so I'm excited to see that play out. And listen, I'm enjoying the show enough that I think there's a good chance you will too. And you know what else you'll enjoy? Nebula. I would be surprised if you have not heard of Nebula by now. It is a subscription streaming service that I and a bunch of YouTubers created back years ago, not that long ago, but like it's been around for a little while. The goal was we wanted an ecosystem where we could exist outside of the algorithm, so we wouldn't have to cater to views and stuff like that. We'd make the videos that we wanted to make. And at the same time, we wanted to have space to make original projects with bigger budgets. And we have some really cool ones coming out. Obviously, there's stuff like Jet Lag, which is hugely popular, and I don't need to explain probably what jet lag is to you. There's also Abolish Everything, which I really enjoy. Patrick Willems has a short film coming out soon called The Dinner Plan. Maggie Mayfish has a series coming out soon called Amy's Dead End Dream House, which from what I have seen seems like a take on like a Pee-wee's Playhouse, one of those shows where like the furniture talks to you, but with a more contemporary twist. And I think Maggie and her team are really smart and funny. I cannot wait to see this show. And then one of the biggest things we have coming up is a show we're working on called Subliminal. It's an anthology. It's very dramatic in the vein of things like The Twilight Zone, but instead of being based around some funky science fiction concept or whatever, this is all just based on complicated human relationships. A bunch of cool YouTubers are writing and directing episodes of this. We have actual actors doing this work. That's going to be really exciting. And one of the episodes, one that is going to be directed by Patrick Willems, is written by me. The episode is called Power Trip. I, again, don't want to spoil it because just when it comes out, you watch it and you'll love it. This is really my first like Nebula original thing, so I'm very excited about it. I've been writing it for a little while. If you're like, why is some of the video frequency slowed down a little bit? But I'm done with it, so that's the best part. I've written it, so there it is. It's there. So it is up to Patrick and our production team to put this episode together. I think it is going to be really cool, and you're going to be able to watch that exclusively on Nebula. You can also watch all of my videos early and ad-free, including Nando Cut videos, which go up maybe a couple hours before they go live on YouTube. But still, that's early. You're seeing it before anybody else. And a yearly subscription to Nebula is a steal already at $5 a month or $60 a year. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/TheNandoCut, name of the channel, you can get a year of Nebula for just $3 a month. It is a great deal. It's a great way to see all my videos. There's a bunch of other creators on Nebula who you definitely already like. And there's a bunch of others that we're bringing on as, time goes on. Who knows when you're watching this video? Check out Nebula. There will be people that are not on there when I'm recording it. And we have some pretty cool ones that I'm excited they're going to be part of Nebula. And we're always growing. So anyway, that is my pitch for Nebula. So watch my videos early and ad-free, and watch Subliminal, specifically my episode and all the other episodes, when they are released in the future. I do not know exactly when, but we're working on it right now. And I'm sure we will have more updates. So follow me on Twitter and all that stuff. I'm Nando V Movies all over the internet, and you will see updates from me. That's all I got. Stay safe. See you next time.